really excited to be here. Thank you again to Andrew, Susan, the team for having me on and getting to share this stuff with you guys. What I'm really excited about here today is really, again, pulling back the curtain on something that everyone on this call has the opportunity to do. If you live in the US and you spend money on a credit card, this stuff's going to work for you. It's pretty awesome. And I'll give the whole backstory and all that stuff as we get in, but I just wanted to share as we dive into this, as I get into some of this stuff, we're going to give you some of the high level things. But what I like to do on these, I like to make these action packed, value packed. So there's going to be a lot of information that you guys can implement, and not everything is going to apply to everyone. So try to find the 1, 2, or maybe the 3 nuggets that really specifically fit your situation. And we'll break down different scenarios of how to think through, the next credit card or the next big trip. And I got to see some of your responses before this call around, some of your guys' bucket list trips that you want to have, like the biggest trips. And I saw a lot of Italy, Japan, Maldives, French Polynesia, so many cool places all over the world. And we'll break down how to do some of those on points. But I'm super excited to jump in. And the first thing I want to do is just get a kind of a sense from you guys. Who here has seen some of the stuff on Instagram? Someone flying first class like that, where, you can see me over on the right, there's champagne, there's caviar, or hanging out in an overwater villa. That's my business partner, Tommy there, who's got an awesome Instagram as well in the travel space. Who's seen this stuff and been like, someone, or you've seen on social media of people just like traveling and saying, hey, I didn't pay for this, and here's this amazing experience, right? I know some of you guys are probably like, yeah, I've seen that stuff. I don't know how the heck people are doing it, or like what's possible, or if this is even real, or are they just like a trust fund baby, or what have you. And I can assure you that is not the case for me, right? When I first started out doing this, I really was, I was doing it out of necessity. I didn't really have a lot of money, and I wanted to travel and I wanted to have fun experiences. And I was like, I got to find a way to do this. And, I actually grew up, my dad's been a real estate agent for about 35 years. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for the industry that you guys are in. You guys are hard workers. Like, this is not an easy industry and career path to be in. So you deserve to be able to take some awesome trips, 1 a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 trips a year on your points, and go have these amazing getaways, get away, reset, recharge, or use your points for things like going to the different conferences and events that you guys are already doing currently with the programs that you're involved with. So with that, let's go ahead and dive right in. So quick backstory for me. So I gotta go by Eli, the travel guy. Maybe some of you guys have seen the movie Bridesmaids, and that's just a funny screenshot of it. But it kind of reminds me of how when I started, right? Again, just going back to the origins of how I got into this, it was, that's a bit of a joke, but it was really like, I was really struggling to find a way to travel. I had friends that right out of school, they all went to Wall Street and they were making a lot of money doing all this stuff. And I was making like $20,000 a year, and I wanted to take trips with my friends, and I didn't have a better strategy. And I was like, this credit card thing is going to be the way to do it. And so I dove in, and what happened for me, and this happens for a lot of people who have used points, and I'm sure some of you guys have, is I had this aha moment. And it was when I was flying over to Europe. It was my first ever international first class ticket. And so, you walk on the plane. I turned left for the first time instead of turning right. So I'm going to the business and first class section where they have all the beds and the pods. And like, I'm like, I don't even know. I don't belong here. Like, I'm like 23 years old. I'm making like not that much money. And I'm flying on a ticket that cost me $6, but cost everyone else $6,000. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, what is going on? I just felt like I didn't belong. So, the flight attendants come up and they're like, sir, would you like some champagne or some wine? I'm like, oh my God, like I'm in heaven. So at that moment I was hooked, and I started just going really deep into the whole credit card points game, because I was like, this is amazing. And if I can figure out ways to continue to travel like this, like I can do any career path I want, and I'll always have the travel lifestyle that I want. And that was really I had a mentor who told me a really a key phrase that sticks with me today, which is, you don't need money, you need a better strategy. And it was like, if I want the results of travel and this amazing lifestyle, is there a better strategy than just the traditional way, which is try to earn enough to then have, the discretionary income or the extra spending money to go take vacations. And this turned out to be a really, really powerful way to do that. So what I'm going to show is how you guys can really create any travel lifestyle that you want without having to pay for it, or just maybe just paying a fraction of it, right? Paying 3% or 5% of what the normal cost would be. And as we dive in, what's really cool about, like, if you think about your lifestyle, just zoom out, right? Zoom out of real estate, zoom out of what you're doing for your income streams. And you think about, like, where am I trying to go with the lifestyle that I want to create? Well, there's 3 different things you can do. You can be really effective in getting there. You can be really efficient, or you can work really hard. Now, if you're on this call, you're investing in coaching, you're learning, you're growing. You're probably the type of agent that's like, you guys are hard workers. Like, that's not a question. Everyone's already got that down. If you're on this call, I can imagine that's the case. But are there ways that you can be more efficient with the things you're already doing that can help you get to the place that you want to go faster? And that's what this is really about. This is about being efficient, because you're already spending the money. You're already taking the trips. Can you be more efficient in the type of travel that you get, and the amount and value that you're getting out of the money that you're already going to be spending, whether it's business expenses or personally, right? So that's really what this game is about. It's about being more efficient. And so that's what I like to tee it off with. And as we get in, it might feel a little bit like this. Okay. I'm going to start throwing some stuff at you guys, different things on credit cards and points and all this stuff. And this is at the spa in the Hyatt Zalara in Cabo San Lucas. And that was actually a picture of me, believe it or not. But it might feel a little bit like drinking from a fire hose, but we're going to dive in and we'll have plenty of time to ask questions. So you guys can chat in the chat box and get that covered and we'll be good to go. Okay. So let me go ahead and continue here. Looks like sorry, apologies. I'm just going to hand this up real quick. Apologies for that. I am actually in Miami as we speak, traveling at a hotel, and for some reason the thing was ringing, so we're gonna carry on. But so what you're about to learn, we're gonna cover 5 main things: what's possible and how the credit game works. We'll cover the risks, the do's and the don'ts, because like anything, if you do it really ineffectively, there's some risks, very minimal, and they're very easy to avoid if you do it right. So we'll cover what that is, so you just know, like, hey, what's the downside? How anyone here can earn millions of points regardless of how much you spend. How to use your points for really insane travel, meaning getting like 5 or 10 or sometimes 15 to 20x the value out of those points, and then how you can have some really easy immediate wins. So I'm going to share some low-hanging fruit for you guys at the end of this, and we'll just map out exactly some tactical things that you can do. Okay. So yeah, this is my business partner and I, Tom. We were traveling over on Emirates first class. I mentioned that was one of my favorite flights. It's such a blast. They have a whole bar on board. It was really cool. And again, some of you guys may not ever want to go to Dubai and fly on that kind of stuff. So this isn't only applicable to those kinds of trips, whether it's you want to take the family to Disney for a getaway, or you want to go to the Caribbean, or it's just a road trip even. All that stuff will still apply. I tend to showcase a lot of the really high-end luxury stuff because it's really fun and it's kind of captivating and it showcases really what's possible. But I want you to know this applies for anybody. But there's 3 key things. Most people are lacking awareness on what's possible, so we'll cover that. Then they're not really maximizing their situation in terms of earning the points and then using them well. And then lastly, I even talk, and there's probably some of you guys on here who kind of know some of this stuff, but you don't have a system for it. And so it seemed like kind of confusing, overwhelming, and like too much headache. So you just didn't do it. Right. So that happens quite a bit too, as people know what it is, but then they just can't implement it because they're like, I don't have time. And so we'll go over the systems piece too, because it'll allow you to keep things simple and keep you moving. Okay. So again, what's possible? Start traveling on your dream trips. Get more trips every year that you wouldn't have taken. So maybe you're like, if I had this points thing, I could take an extra 2 or 3 trips, right? You could take a couple high-end luxury trips without paying for it. So whether you do want to go to Italy or Japan or some of these bucket listers that you guys put in, you could do one of those. And you could do that once a year, once every couple of years. That would work. You can also gift travel to family. So it doesn't have to be just for you. It could be for team members. It could be for friends. It could be for anyone really. And you can host retreats and events as well. So if you have team members or employees that you want to take on like a getaway, you can totally do that and use the points for them as well. And that will be totally covered. So a few things that I've been able to do that's been really fun. A couple examples on this. Lufthansa first class. This is kind of the higher end stuff that's like really cool luxury stuff if you're going overseas. So they'll actually drive you onto the tarmac in a Porsche from the first class lounge. That was a fun one there. JetBlue Studio Suites. That's actually my favorite domestic first class experience. So there's like a whole kind of suite they have like in a pod. So we were having a business meeting up in the sky there. You got Waldorf Astoria in the Maldives. So they have the overwater villas, which are super cool, similar to the St. Regis Bora Bora down here in the middle. This was the Emirates A380 where they have a shower, and I was enjoying an espresso martini at 35,000 feet. So chest hair is not included in that one. It's kind of an embarrassing picture, honestly, but it does showcase what's possible. And then the Singapore suites, which you would have seen too. So they fly this all out over Singapore and actually even into Germany. So I'm just going to check the chat box real quick. And yeah, I'll be diving in here, Rashawn. So don't worry. So the 3 things you want to optimize, and what we'll dive into now is some more of the tactical things. So we'll dive into earning the right points, earning tons of them, and then how to get good value. Okay. So what are the different types of points, right? So there's 3 different types of points. There's bank points that are non-transferable. There's loyalty points, and then there's bank points that are transferable. So what does that actually mean? Well, if you have points with Wells Fargo, PNC, US Bank, or Bank of America, those are non-transferable bank points. So you can't take them and convert them into an airline or a hotel. You can only go to US Bank's travel site and use them there. That's not great because there's a fixed value on the points that you have. And so you can't use them optimally like I'm explaining. Okay, then you've got loyalty points. That's going to be airline miles or hotel points. And with those, you can use them for higher value, but you're stuck with that one airline. So if you have United miles, you're flying United or one of their other airline partners. You're not able to fly on American or Delta, for example, because they're not partners with them. Okay, then you've got what is really where we want to focus, which is what we call transferable bank points. So first thing that a lot of you are probably thinking is, what is the best credit card? How should I be thinking about this? Well, this is leading us into all of that, but I want to share you the information on how you can start to think about it so that after this, you can implement this on your own. Bank points that are transferable, like Chase, Amex, Capital One, and Citi, those are the 4 banks that you can earn points with. They will allow you to convert those points into these different airline and hotel partners. Now, what happens with that is that means you can basically fly any airline in the world, say any hotel brand, and you can do it at a really, really good value. And I'll showcase again what that value means, what I'm actually talking about. But that's the key. So you really want to think about earning Chase points, Amex points, Capital One, and Citi points. So if you've got like a Southwest card, or you've got an American Airlines card, or a Hilton card, those aren't necessarily bad, but it's better to start with these, and I'll explain why. Okay. When you have these 4 points, you can transfer them, and that's where you get anywhere from 2, 3, 5, or sometimes 10 times the value compared to non-transferable bank points. Okay. And so basically, if you had a million, let's just call it a million, because that's early as 100,000. If you had 100,000 points in scenario A, if you had US bank points and there were 100,000 of them, it's worth $1,000. Okay. Or PNC points. Typically it's going to be worth about $1,000. With these points, if you use them effectively, those same points, you didn't change anything else but how you use them, could be worth 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, or up to 10,000 or more out of the same points. It's just that you have a different type of currency that allows you to do more with it. So that's the huge first key thing. You have to earn the right points. Otherwise, the rest of the stuff doesn't really work as well. Okay. Dimitri, I see that, yeah, you're talking about your Amex points. Beautiful, beautiful. So as we look at this, so again, how does this all work? Well, American Express has partners with all these different airlines and hotels. And as you can see, this is an example of some of their different partnerships. So when I say transfer these points, you would basically go to americanexpresstravel.com. There's a section where we'll say transfer points, and then you would find whatever airline or hotel you're dealing with, and then get like have to create a loyalty account there. And then all you do is you take the loyalty number, throw it into your Amex travel section, and then say transfer the points, and then they'll show up in your airline account. So if you were going to convert them to, let's say you're flying to the UK, you could convert them to Virgin Atlantic. Okay. And so that would be, you get a Virgin Atlantic loyalty number. You'd go to Amex Travel and say, I want to convert 100,000 points from American Express into Virgin Atlantic. And then they'll show up in your Virgin Atlantic account as Virgin Atlantic miles. Okay. So that's what I mean when I say convert the points. Okay. So when it comes to running the numbers on earning more points, yeah, and Suze, I see you. So I shouldn't have a credit card only tied to one airline. So it's not necessarily always bad. And I'll get into the specifics of times that you should do that. But oftentimes you want to start with these ones, as I mentioned. And Lorraine, I'll answer that question a little bit as well with the Amex Delta. Is it too restrictive? Because it does depend. So how do we earn more points? I mentioned anyone here can earn millions of points. Well, there's a few key ways. Number one is going to be sign-up bonuses. Obviously, by far the easiest, and some of you probably have taken advantage of these before. But it'll say, open this new card, you get 60,000 points in the first 90 days after you spend $4,000 on the card. That's a great way to get new bonuses, but you don't want to open a bunch of these because it's going to overall start to impact your credit. I have over 40 different credit cards personally because I have a good system for this. And business credit cards actually don't show up on your personal credit report, the vast majority of them. So if you open more of those, you actually don't impact your personal credit aside from the inquiry. Now, you will still personally guarantee any business credit card. So don't think that this is just some like magical credit card that you can walk away from. But if you carry a higher balance or something like that, or it's a newer card and the average age is going to typically impact your personal credit score. If it's a business card, it doesn't. So if you're going to open some sign-up bonuses, you want to look at maybe there's some business cards that you can get bonuses with, because it'll allow you to generate a lot of points really fast without having as negative of an impact on your credit score. So really the only thing that would be negative there is, assuming that you pay it off on time and all that, is that you'd have the inquiry, which is typically going to dock your score around three points for about 90 days. So there's ways to open those. And oftentimes people are very concerned around opening a new card. So do what you're comfortable with and obviously understand more about the credit score. But I can assure you that if you do it effectively, your credit score will actually just go up over time when you do this. As you open more cards, you just have to know how the system works on that side. So if you have questions on that, let me know. But that's an easy way, right? You could get 300,000 points quickly off of a couple new cards. But the next one is a big one. This is where a lot of people leave a lot of money on the table. Is let's say you spend a lot on dining, okay, or groceries, right? Those are what we call category bonuses. And this is where you can get specific cards that match your type of purchases the best. So in the first step, we talked about getting the right points. So Amex, Chase, Citi, Capital One. So now that you know you've got those 4 points to work with, which cards would maximize your type of expenses that earn those points? So a common one for most people is going to be the American Express Gold Card. Okay. This is almost a no-brainer for anybody. It does have a higher fee, and we can talk about how to avoid these fees too towards the end. But what it will do is it's going to earn 4 points per dollar on every dollar that you spend at groceries and dining, whereas most cards are going to earn you 1 point. So as a quick example, let's say you spent $1,000 a month between the two of those purchases, right? 500 on dining, 500 on groceries. Well, that would mean over the course of a year, you spent $12,000. So with card A that earns 1 point per dollar, like the Amex Platinum, you would get 12,000 points. With the Amex Gold, you'd have 48,000 points. So that right there is enough to go to Europe in business class one way, which could be a $4,000 ticket just from switching one card. So you'll start to see how some of this ties together. So again, you want to look at what are the things that you're spending a lot on. Are you taking a lot of clients out? Are you spending a lot on gas because you're driving around to open houses? Are you doing a lot of advertising? Do you run social media ads? Are you, again, spending a lot on dining? Is there a lot of shipping costs? Everyone's going to have different types of category purchases, but that's where you want to start to maximize your cards that are going to be most efficient for your spending. And then the last couple things is there's easy ways. There's a bunch of these, and they're very small, but they're nice to add in. There's other easy ways to earn a lot of points, for example, using shopping portals. So there's one actually that's called Rakuten. You can see it spelled right there. I'd highly suggest you install this Google Chrome extension. Whenever you shop online, it'll earn you American Express points on any different site, right? So it's automatically in the back of your browser, so you don't even have to do anything, and it can earn you Amex points. Easy win, right? Referral bonuses. So if there's someone else in your family that's going to get a new card, maybe you open the card first and then you refer them to another card or so a friend, you'll get points for referring them. So you can earn an extra couple 100,000 points easily like that. And the last one is going to be what we call retention bonuses. And this is where you would basically chat into American Express or call Chase or something like that. Say, hey, I've been using the card for 2 years. You can say I'm a loyal customer. And yeah, I really like it, but I was considering canceling because I'm not sure I'm getting the value. Is there any sort of retention bonus that you have or a way you could waive the annual fee? And they'll typically offer you something if you've been using the card that's either going to say, hey, you know what? We can't waive the fee, but we can give you an extra 30,000 points if you spend $1,000 in the next 90 days. So that's a great way to earn more points or reduce the fees on your card. So that's kind of a fun little strategy. Pretty easy to do. Takes 3 minutes. You call in, boom, you save, $100, $300, $500, depending on the type of card, or you get a lot of bonus points that you could use for more travel. So just checking the chat here for a moment, guys. Oh, cool. Sue's already is on Rakuten. Cool. Which Amex is better for dining and online shopping, platinum or gold? Gold card is better for dining, Chelsea, but in terms of online shopping, we'll want to get a card that's going to earn you at least 2 points per dollar on your non-category bonuses. So online shopping typically isn't one of those. So what you'd want to do is find a card that earns the highest amount of points for non-category spending, and that would be something like the Capital One Venture X or Venture card. Those earn 2 points per dollar. There's a couple other cards that could be good for that too. So great. If I have a few Amex cards, can I use that on multiple ones? I'm not sure, Ryan, if you could clarify that question again, that'd be helpful. I'm not sure I'm entirely following on that. So I will come back to some more of these questions. These are great questions, those guys. Just wanted to check in on that. So you can take a picture of this. You'll get the slides after too. But if you really want to sit down and like take a couple hours, not even a couple hours, a couple minutes, really, because I'm kind of giving you the formula, but take a couple minutes and look through and say, what are the right card sets for me? These are questions that you'd want to ask. What's your outcome? Is it about getting luxury travel? Is it about a big destination trip? Am I traveling a lot and I want to get status so I get more upgrades? Is it that I want to take my family somewhere? Is it that I want to get the highest cash back even? Typically, we're talking about travel. You can do cash back. Travel is typically going to get you way better value, but maybe for some of you, you're only taking one trip a year. You got that covered. And then it's like, how do I get the most cash back? So you'd want to think about that. And then you want to think about what are the top points to earn, the easiest bonuses, which cards earn the best on your type of expenses, which ones have the perks, right? Because it's easy to get lounge access and get through security with TSA PreCheck or Clear, which means you skip the security line. A lot of these perks, guys, are going to come with many credit cards as a bonus, like as an included perk of the card. So oftentimes people are not utilizing these fully. And that's what I would definitely recommend looking at too, is go into your wallet now and figure out, hey, are there benefits to this card that I'm not using? Because oftentimes people are sitting on top of $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 worth of value, and they're just not even using it. And so you want to check that stuff first. And I'll even share some apps on ways you can track that at the end too. Okay. Now here's kind of the secret sauce on really doing this well. A lot of people can figure out how to get the right card or a card or two that help and even earn a lot of points. And that's a good start. And that's important because otherwise you can't do everything else I'm talking about. But the real thing that makes this a total game changer is using your points at 5 to 10x the value. And this is how a lot of people look at what I'm able to do. And they're like, okay, how are you spending like millions of dollars a year? How are you able to travel like this? And it's not that. It's just that I'm able to get really good value. And this is what we help our clients do. This is what people that really know this stuff are able to do. And I'll break down how exactly that works right now. Okay. So I mentioned that these different banks can convert into airline and hotel partners. Now, mind you, this image that you see is chaotic, right? You do not need to memorize this. There's nothing you even need to do with this other than know that this is kind of the system that exists. And this is both why it's valuable, but also why a lot of people can't do it, because it is kind of confusing to look at, right? But I'll give you the tools to keep this short and simple. But this is ultimately what we have. So just as an example, you could see these different airlines over here. There's a little star next to them, which means they're in the Star Alliance. So there's different airline alliances. And for example, if you were going to fly to Germany, you could fly Lufthansa Airlines, but you can't convert any points into Lufthansa. So maybe you want to use one of their Star Alliance partners like United, and you could convert Chase points into United to book a Lufthansa ticket. This is where you end up saving a lot of the money. So again, you don't need to memorize this, but what's valuable to know is that this exists. You can convert your points to airlines. Airlines are part of different alliances like this, and that's how this all works. So if you're not familiar with the alliances, you don't really need to memorize this either. It's just, again, helpful to know. There's really three main US carriers: Delta, United, and American, and they're all a part of a major alliance. So United's in the Star Alliance, American is in the One World, and Delta's in the Sky Team. So they all have partners, and that's where you can book each other's flights, right? So I mentioned the whole United example. You see United down here, and then you'll see Lufthansa is somewhere on here as well, which for some reason I can't see them, but they're on here, I'm sure, because they're in the Star Alliance. Yep. Oh, right there. There you go. So there's Lufthansa, right? So they're in the same alliance, so you can book them. American Airlines, or excuse me, American Airlines is partners with British Airways, so you could use British Airways points to book American Airlines tickets. Okay. So that's kind of how this works. Now, what's important to understand is like, okay, how do I even know if I'm getting a good deal? Like, what is a good deal? How do I use these points? And again, what I mentioned is you want to compare everything to the base value of what points are typically worth if you don't do this, which is 1 cent per point. Okay. So each point is worth a penny. Think of it like that. Now the game is finding, how do I get 1 cent or 1 point to be worth 2 cents, 3 cents, 5 cents, 10 cents each time I use it. And that's what you want to be calculating. So the math is pretty simple. What you're going to do is take the cash cost of something and divide it by the number of required points. Okay. So as an example, if you had a flight to Europe that was $5,237, it was a business class ticket, right? That's a normal fare-ish for that type of flight. And it costs you 75,000 points. You would divide 5,237 divided by 75,000, and you'd see, okay, I got 6.9 cents for each point. I got 6.9 cents out of my point. But if you went to Amex Travel or Chase Travel, you'll see that they give you a fixed value on 1 cent per point. So you would be seeing that a $5,237 flight would cost you 523,700 points, right? So it's a lot more. You're only getting 1 cent per point. So in this scenario, you're basically getting 7x the value. Okay. You could take 7 flights at 75,000 points compared to most people that would have to shell out 523,000 points. Okay. So I'll give some examples on this, but this is how it works to get really good value. And ultimately, these bank travel portals like American Express Travel or Chase Travel or even US Bank Travel, what they're doing is they're basically what's called an online travel agency. So you go redeem your points to them, and then they're just taking those points basically at a fixed value, and then they're going to buy the ticket for you from the airline. So just like a travel agent would, it's just an online website doing it. And they're going to say, okay, cool. You want to fly United? We're a travel agent. We'll go buy from United. And there you go. And so they're basically just doing that. But when you convert your points to the airlines, that's where you have, you've probably heard of the term arbitrage, where there's like a gap in value that you're able to get. And that's where, okay, the price might go up and get more expensive and more expensive. But when you convert to an airline, they have a different way of pricing where their pricing stays the same. So in this case, the airline would be this green line on the bottom, and then the cash price would be up here. So a ticket may, double or triple in the amount of dollars, and then therefore the amount of points with like the bank when you go to the bank's website. But if you convert them to the airline, they don't change the price of the ticket in most cases. So it will be the same number of points required no matter how much it actually costs. And that's the value of converting these to airlines or hotels. Hotels are the same way. Okay. So just pop it in the chat here real quick. Awesome. We're just checking this. Yeah, cool. Thank you, Suze. Yeah, we'll have question and answer at the end as well. So I want to give you your first easy win. I know I've been explaining a lot of concepts. For some people, you're probably like right with you. For other people, you're like, you lost me. That's okay. I'm going to give you some easy wins right now, things that you could write down and easily do as soon as you have a trip. I know you guys have a lot of you guys are going to this event out in San Diego in the fall. You could use this example to book your hotel for free. Hands down, a home run every single time, transferring Chase points to Hyatt hotels. Okay. So I'm going to give you a hotel example, and then I'm going to give you an airline example. So let's say you're going out to Big Sur, California after the San Diego event. Okay. And you wanted to stay at the Alila Ventana, which is a beautiful, beautiful 5-star property. And it typically costs around $2,300 per night. So you could go on their Hyatt website.com or Hyatt.com, go on the site and look this up, and you'll see it's an expensive hotel. But if you were going to book this, it would cost you, scenario A, $2,300 in cash. Scenario B, you could go to Chase Travel or Amex Travel or whatever it is, go to the travel portal, and you'll see that it will cost 230,000 points per night. Or option 3 or scenario C, right? You can convert your points from Chase into Hyatt, and it will only cost you 45,000 points. Okay. So what does that mean? That means you're getting back to that Semper point thing. You're getting 5 cents for each point that you have, which means you could get 5 nights for the price of 1 compared to what most people are able to do with their points. Okay. Pretty awesome. So if you had 250,000 Chase points, you could get 5 nights here, which would retail for well over, what is that, over $12,000, I believe. I'm not great at math, but over $12,000 just off of your points, where in most cases, people are only getting $2,300 out of that. So you just took the same points. Scenario A, $2,300. Scenario B, over well over 12K. Okay, pretty awesome. Again, same thing works for something like the Maldives. Park Hyatt is another property out there. Same thing. It could be 30,000 points a night for a $950 stay, which would typically cost people $95,000 per night. So you're getting 3 nights for the price of 1. Okay, so you can get triple the amount of travel. But it doesn't have to be like all high-end luxury. Again, I'm down in Miami. I live in Austin, but I'm down in Miami right now. And you could stay at the Hyatt Regency in Miami downtown, Brickell, great neighborhood. And typically, this would cost you 51,000 points per night, but it would only cost you 12,000 if you convert them from Chase into Hyatt. So again, you can get 4 nights there for the price of 1. 50,000 points, right? If that got you 4 nights and it was 50,000 points, think of it this way. A single card bonus for a Chase Sapphire card could be 60,000 points. So you could take a trip to Miami and get basically 5 nights off of that sign-up bonus, which is pretty cool, right? You open the card and you just got 5 nights at $500. That's $2,500 just from a single card that you just opened. Okay, so that's the kind of stuff that's possible with the hotel side. Now, I recently went to Sardinia with my girlfriend in August, and this was really cool. This is an Italian island. And in this example, I combined getting status with my points to get a really good deal. And I'll break that down here. So we got 4 nights, okay, and it totaled to be 140,000 points for us. Now, if I was going to go pay cash for this room, it would have cost me, it was about 3,000 something per night. It would have cost me around $13,000. Now, what I did is, because I had the point set up that I'm talking about, and then I also had status, I booked a regular room, but I got upgraded into this like 2-bedroom villa here. And that's how it ended up being 13,000, because it was like a much higher category room. So I ended up getting 9.2 times the value out of the points. So that's where things like status can come in. And you can get status, for example, with Hyatt, just by spending alone. So just from spending $120,000 a year on a Hyatt credit card, you can get their top status, which means you'll get consistent upgrades to rooms like that when you're traveling. So that's a pretty awesome example right there of, again, normally this would cost around 1.3 million points. I only used 140,000. So that is how, again, you can get really awesome value out of your travel without having to, again, either A, just make a lot more money, or B, shell out tons and tons of points. So that's a really good example right there. Another fun one, again, this was, again, another international one, but again, this stuff will all apply to domestic flights too. It's just that these have the bigger numbers because they're obviously more expensive. But I was flying Emirates first class. So this was a great experience. Again, it has the bar and the shower on board, all that. It's really fun. But it would normally be $14,500. Okay. And it cost me 136,000 points. So I converted my Amex points into Emirates, and it was 136,000. So I got 10 cents per point. For most people that don't know how to do the conversion stuff, they'd go to Amex Travel, and this would cost 1.45 million. Okay. So I could get, technically, if I were to do this, I'm not going to go to Dubai 10 times, but if I were to, I could get 10 of those flights for the normal price that most people would get for 1. Okay. So hopefully that gives you some cool examples. Again, this is my business partner. Tommy was traveling to Asia. He was able to get basically a $50,000 round trip flight for 2, doing the same kind of thing. Normally, it would have been around 4.8 million points. He only paid 246,000. Okay, so this just shows you don't have to spend a lot of money to get 246,000 and take 2 people on a round trip first class for 2, right? You just have to be able to be really smart with how you use your points. Okay, so a couple cool different things. There's some things we call sweet spots, and this is where you can get really good deals on different types of flights. So I want to give you guys, again, some tactical things that you could use. So if you're someone that flies American Airlines a lot, what you want to do is you look at British Airways website, for short American Airlines flights. So I'm again, Miami is an American Airlines hub. Maybe if I was going to fly to New York or to Philly I'm actually flying back to Austin tomorrow night using this exact example, right? So it'll be cheaper to use British Airways for their own flight than American Airlines would charge. So I think for my flight tomorrow night, American was going to charge like 45,000 points for 2 people in first class, but British Airways only charged 33,000. And I could just convert my American Express points into British Airways and get 2 people in first class for 33,000 points, which is a great deal, right? So that's like a really easy one to do. So if you're someone who flies American, that's where you want to search. If you do want to go to Europe and you want the cheapest way to get to Europe in a lay flat bed, right, where you get the whole kind of luxury experience, you could fly from the East Coast into Madrid on Iberia business class. Iberia is a Spanish airline, and they convert from a lot of different banks for only 34,000 points per person. Okay, so again, that Chase Sapphire card will get you right now. I think it's actually an 80,000 point bonus. So for that, you could get round trip in business class off of just the one credit card bonus, and that might cost sometimes 3, 4, 5K. Okay. The next example would be if you wanted to fly on one of those really good Emirates flights that I showed you, you could use something like Air Canada to do that. Or if you're going to Asia, you'd want to look at ANA first class. Okay, so this is a really common one out of like Seattle or LA, or even Chicago, and you can fly into Tokyo round trip for really cheap on ANA. So ANA is a Japanese carrier. I know a lot of you guys put down Japan for your dream trip, or somewhere in like Thailand or the Maldives, or like Bora Bora, and you could go through Japan to get there, and you would go from the West Coast, and it only costs you 55,000 Virgin Atlantic miles, which is you can convert from a lot of banks. Okay. Now there are some things that are kind of cool. Like there's some airlines, what's called a fifth freedom. And this is where an airline will fly between 2 countries that are not its originating home country. So Emirates is based in Dubai, but you can actually fly them from New York to Milan. So pretty cool. We just did this with like 20 friends, went to Milan. And for this, it can be as low as like 74,000 points, I believe. So pretty cheap in terms of points compared to how expensive it would cost in cash. You can fly on Singapore Airlines, which is a great experience as well, from LA to Japan. Okay. So all sorts of cool examples there. Now, a couple other booking tips. So number one, I always like to start. A lot of people ask, like, well, how do I start? I always like to start with Google Flights to find the options of what I have. Okay. So I'll typically start there. And then if I'm going to pay cash for a flight, because sometimes that might happen, or it's just not a good points deal, you want to make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck. Now, this is kind of going back to using the right cards for the right purchases. So something like the Amex Platinum will get you 5 points per dollar for airfare purchases. So that's a good card for that. So I would look at that one. And that'll give you some ideas around like, how do I do this if I'm booking cash? You're going to like to start with Google Flights and plan there. And a lot of people ask, like, when's the best time to do these deals? Well, you can really do it anytime, but the best time, if you have to ask, like, when's it the easiest to get the best value? It's 11 months out for flights, or last minute, like within a week. The reason is because 11 months out is when the airlines release their what they call their award charts, or their routes and everything. And so you can see, okay, this is like the brand new inventory and no one's booked it yet, so there's more options to use points. Or last minute, because if the airline hasn't sold the ticket in cash, which they prefer, they're going to say, okay, look, we haven't sold it yet. Let's open it up for points bookings. So that's always a good thing to know too. So a couple things to systemize, and then we'll get into some of the questions here as we wrap up. Number one is a really good tip. Whether you have 1 card, 2 cards, 5 cards, 10 cards, 40 cards like me, you can do this. And basically what you want to do is you want to have one payment due date for all your cards. So let's say you have 10 different cards at 4 different banks. You could change the payment due dates to be roughly the same day. So maybe it's like the 28th of the month, or the 27th, 28th. So, you know, every month, if you log in on the 26th, all of your payments are about to be due. So it allows you to simplify and condense when your payments are actually going to be due. So you can keep it consistent. And it's not like, oh, one's due now, one's due another time, and all that stuff, because ultimately you want it to be as simple as possible. And if you set up auto pay, which everyone should do as well, then you just go in, all you're going to do is just check to make sure the payment went through. You don't even have to make a payment, right? So you can set up auto pay to do that. I highly suggest it, but I also suggest you check it to make sure that was paid, because in some cases people will set up auto pay and something happens. It tries to debit their checking account and something weird happens and they don't even look. And then all of a sudden they have a late payment, and you don't want to deal with late payments. I'm sure some of you have. It's a headache. Not ideal. Okay. There's a great app to track all your card benefits. So like some of these cards are going to come with like an Uber credit or a dining credit or something like that. And what you want to do is use something called card pointers, and you can load your cards in there and we'll show you, hey, have you used your dining credit here? Have you used your $200 hotel credit here? Have you used your Uber credit here, and you can just track it each month, and it will automatically load all those in there. So it keeps it easy to organize to make sure that you're actually utilizing these cards. Okay. Another thing you could do, so you can track all your points in one place using something called a Word Wallet or TripIt Pro. And this will allow you to see all of your points across all the different airlines or hotels or credit card programs in one login. So you don't have to go log into 50 different things. Okay. So I highly suggest that. If you want help searching things, you can go to, there's a good website called point.me. It's not perfect, but it's decent. And then obviously our team, we have services that are really designed to help business owners that spend more than like 15K a month and travel at least like 4 times a year. We help with that stuff too for people that are high spenders, frequent travelers, because there's a lot of value to tap into on that. So we can certainly help, and we'll share information on setting up a call for those that are interested. Obviously, zero obligation, just here to support if we can. That is a free consult and stuff. So that'll be available for those that want that. Now I'll do some last easy wins, and then we'll get into the Q&A. So this is a really cool one. So anyone that flies Southwest, you can get actually one person flying free for 4 years. Really cool. Okay, so let's say it's a couple, maybe you have a partner and you guys live near a Southwest hub, so you got a lot of good options, and they actually fly to Hawaii and some of the Caribbean islands and Central America now. But you can actually get their companion pass by getting 125,000 Southwest points in a single year. Okay, so you could do that by opening their personal credit card and their business credit card, and if you get that, it'll give you the companion pass for the rest of that calendar year and the entire next year. So let's say you did it in January 2024. You open the 2 cards, you get the points. Great. It's your husband, you add your partner, you get them on your companion pass for the rest of that year and the next year. And then after 2 years, they add you back, and then now you're their companion. And so you just got 4 years of one person flying for free. That's awesome, right? You've got the American Airlines Aviator Red. So this is a fun one. I did this early on, and you'll get 50,000 points for your first purchase. So you can literally go into 7-Eleven and buy a pack of gum. And then you could use the points that you got from that pack of gum purchase to go fly to Europe in business class or fly round trip across the US in first class. Pretty awesome, right? It's 50,000 points, could be worth several $1,000s depending on how you use it. If you're someone who doesn't travel super frequently and you want the highest status for hotels, the fastest, the Hilton Diamond status is achievable by getting the Hilton Aspire card. This is the only hotel status or airline status you can get just from holding a credit card. That's the highest status. So that's a great one. Or you can get the Bonvoy Brilliant if you want Marriott Platinum status, which is great too. That'll get you free breakfast and upgrades as well. I always recommend with status guys, like if you have a base level status like gold or silver, typically with these airlines and hotels that are the starter ones, you don't really see a lot of really good benefits. Like you might get a free water when you check into a hotel, but you're probably going to get that anyways. You might get free Wi-Fi here and there. The real benefits begin when you start to get the higher tiers of status. And again, you can get those just on cards. So you don't have to be traveling a ton to do that. You can even buy points for big cash trips, which is a great way to save. We'll get into that if you have questions. Highly, again, suggest everyone here get Clear and TSA PreCheck. Clear will come as an Amex Platinum credit for the Platinum or Business Platinum card. But at the least, TSA PreCheck comes on most premium cards and Global Entry. So when you come back in the country, Global Entry will allow you to skip the line. So you can get that as a benefit. Basically, all you do is you register for it and you put the payment on the card that has the benefit, and it will automatically trigger it. Most cases, you can avoid paying for bags when you travel. So whether you're flying business or first class, that will cover it. Or you get a co-branded credit card. So for those who are asking about like the Amex Delta card, if you have that card, you're generally going to get free bags. So that's pretty easy. Or you can get use like these airline incidental credits to get your free baggage there too. And a lot of premium cards are going to come with lounges as well. So there's a network called Priority Pass, which is going to be on a lot of different cards, and that gets you into 1,300 different airport lounges worldwide. So that's going to be a huge benefit for many of you. If you have the platinum cards, you'll get into the Centurion lounges. And then if you have some of the co-branded cards, certain cards will get you into lounges there too. So again, we'll share more information about booking any call, but if you guys have questions, we can dive into as many of those as needed now, and we can kick that off. So I know that's a lot of information, and I'm going to just dive into the chat here and scroll up a little bit and see what we can do for any questions. Okay, let me just go back up to some of the top ones here. And if you have any other ones, guys, feel free to chat those in. Okay, so I see Chelsea's question about Amex being better for dining and online shopping. I did answer that. Does Amex Gold as an additional card to primary platinum card holder still accumulate 4x points for the primary platinum owner when the gold card member uses it? Boris, yes. So if you have a platinum and someone gets a gold, the 4x will go to you. That's correct. So that's good. So Dimitri answered that too. Thank you, Dimitri. If I have a few Amex cards, can I use that on multiple ones, asking to cancel the card for more points? Oh, yes. So Ryan, great question. So you're asking, hey, I've got 5 Amex cards. Can I do this whole like retention bonus thing on all of the different cards? You can ask. Sometimes they'll do it for all of them. The more you use the card, the more likely you are to get that bonus. So I always ask. Can't hurt to ask. There's no downside. Do I have any good thoughts on the Apple Pay card? I'm not a big Apple credit card fan, mostly just because it doesn't really get you travel points. If you spend a lot at Apple, it's great. But I don't really think many of us are spending a ton at Apple unless we run a company where we're buying a lot of tech for team members, which is probably not the case here. Yeah, I need to expand my spreadsheet to track this. That's hilarious. Yeah, you can use the apps I mentioned too. That will help a lot. Jody asked which card have the lounges. Dimitri, thanks for hopping in. Dimitri seems to be really knowing their stuff. So Chase Sapphire Reserve, Capital One Venture X, Amex Platinum are good. The Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant will get some of that. The Hilton Aspire card will also get lounges. There's a handful, honestly. Those are some of the best ones though. So I'll be looking at which of those is going to get you also the best benefits for your type of spending too. Capital One Venture X is a great one for everyday spenders. I like that card a lot for almost anybody. So I think that's a highly considered one for you. Any strategies with Amazon purchases? Yes. So basically, Dimitri nailed it again. You can look for cards that have rotating category bonuses like the Chase Freedom. So that'll occasionally have Amazon as a bonus category, or you can get the Prime card. But what I typically do is I just put it on a card that earns 2 points for every dollar. So like the Capital One Venture X would be something like that. Or the Capital One Sparks Miles for business will earn 2 points per dollar spent on anything for business expenses. So if you're making Amazon purchases for your business, I would use the Sparks Miles for business. If it was for personal things, Capital One Venture X is a great card. Okay. Jay says he's been racking up points on Chase, and when he went to purchase flight, made me buy tickets on their portal, didn't show me transfer out partners like you mentioned. Is it hidden? Okay, great question. So this is a tricky one because a lot of people, like if you haven't done this before, you're like, how do I even do that? And so you'll want to go into their panel, like the little side panel, and it's going to say use points. Each site looks kind of different for that. So you can literally just Google. There's probably going to be articles with screenshots, so it can walk you through that. And I'll also share a link to our mini course. We have other courses and stuff. So if you want to go deeper in learning this, you can check those out. And we have screen recordings that show exactly how to do it too in there, but you can Google that for free if you want. But basically there's going to be a little panel that just says convert points, right? So with Chase, you have to have a certain card. If you have the Chase Sapphire Preferred or Reserve or the Ink Preferred, you can convert your points. The Freedom card, you can't convert them without having one of those other cards. So they work kind of strange with that, but that's how it's going to work with most of these programs. Is it's just going to be like a panel that says transfer your points, and you'll find that under like use your points. Okay, cool. I see that whole thread there. So it's better to go directly to the airline or hotel website, Jenny says. So if you're going to purchase a ticket, typically, well, let me break this down this way. If you're buying a hotel, you want to go directly to the hotel site for sure, because you're going to earn the elite nights towards that stay. So like every time you stay in a hotel, you get a night credit, and that helps build towards status. If you go purchase through the travel portal for hotels, you don't get that. For airlines, it doesn't really matter. It's fine if you are going to, if for airlines, if you're going to book through the portal, it's okay. And you just want to find out which cards you have, they're going to get you the highest return, right? So if you have Jenny, if you have like a Marriott card and you're booking a Marriott hotel, use the Marriott card. If you don't have that and you have like you're booking a flight and you have the Chase Sapphire card, you'd want to go through the Chase portal because that'll get you a higher return. So those are kind of some of the examples. Roshan, you'll have the recording for this. So hopefully, apologies if I was going too fast, but we've got a lot to cover here. So wanted to get you guys as much value as I can. So Jay, yeah, getting a refund for that. Typically, if you book through the travel portal, what they'll do is they'll refund you a cash credit. So once you use the points, typically they're not going to give you a points refund on that. So that's just a good, I guess, lesson for the next time. Not the end of the world, but yeah, you don't know until you know. And so now you know. So that's good. Jody, I explained how to convert the points a little bit more. So hopefully you got some ideas on that. If you need more help, just let me know. Dimitri asks where I stayed. So yeah, Seven Pine Resort was the Sardinia hotel. It was beautiful. Do points typically expire? So Sonia, so great question. Depending on the points you have, each type of currency is going to have a different setup for expiration. Credit card points like Amex points or Chase points, typically, as long as you have a card open with that bank that earns those points, they will not expire and you'll keep them forever. With airline miles or hotel points, they each vary, but it's really easy to keep them active. Actually, that app Award Wallet will notify you if things are about to expire. So you can go in there and basically just set up the account and it'll say, hey, your Delta miles are going to expire. And all you need to do is typically have activity on the account in order to keep them from expiring. So what that means is like you need to earn a mile or, book a flight or do something like that to prevent them from expiring. So you should be good. And Dimitri's right. Over time, a lot of these points will get devalued. Like the airlines will inflate their prices over time. So that's just good to know. So if you're thinking about like, should I hoard my points? Should I use them? I typically say, once you have like several 100,000 or at least, like, definitely start to use them for your bigger trips, the best bang for your buck. It's not really that useful to hoard them unless you have like a big trip coming up where you can use them at much better value. Denise says, why waste your points for a short flight? Do I pay for a flight? Do I sit in business? Yeah, I'll pay for flights sometimes. But if I have the opportunity to use points and save on the cash cost, like the flight back to Austin is 2.5 hours. I'd be happy flying economy. It's not a big deal, but I was able to use points and I have a good amount of them for a pretty good value. So I was fine, booking into first class because why not? And yeah, if you can do it and it doesn't cost a lot, that's great. And the retail cost that was probably like around $2,000 for two of us. But if I only have to use 33,000 points, pretty good deal. So I was happy with that. Rachel says with ANA, their first class flights always seem to be on waitlist. Is there a way around that? You just got to check different availability. You can use, Rachel, it sounds like you know what you're doing here. I would check out a tool called Expert Flyer. You can set seat alerts if you're not familiar with that tool already. That would be your best way to avoid the whole waitlist thing, because that's a good hack. It's a little bit of a complicated tool, but it sounds like, again, you know what you're doing. So I would check that out. But otherwise, I would be checking Virgin a lot of times too for some of the ANA stuff. You can be really good there. Let's see. Amanda, yeah, I'm glad that you got value. Thank you so much. Apple Pay, Mary, I answered that. I don't suggest it as much as I suggest travel cards. Kayla asks about how long did it take me to earn points for travel quickly. I mean, again, some of these cards I got, that 50,000 point bonus for buying a pack of gum at 7-Eleven on the American Airlines Aviator Red card. So that's enough to take, again, a couple round trip flights in economy across the US or round trip in first class if you wanted to do that. So that'd be an easy one. I would totally suggest that. So the sign up bonuses are the fastest way again. Nicole says, if I have an American Airlines card Amex, can I move it into other platforms you mentioned? So I think you've got something potentially twisted here because American Airlines Amex doesn't issue any American Airlines cards. So you might have a Citi card with American Airlines or a Barclay card because there's only two banks that issue those. But you cannot convert airline points to another airline point. And that's a good point actually as well, is that once you convert your points from like Chase to a hotel or a Amex to an airline or whatever, you can't convert them back. So you want to make sure you find the seat first, because sometimes people will be like, oh, I'll just convert them to Virgin. And then all of a sudden you didn't take the flight for whatever reason. You can't convert them back. So make sure you know that that's good. How many cards you need to have to make the best use of your system? It doesn't matter really. I mean, some of the clients we have 2 cards, right? They're just getting the best value out of those 2. Typically, I recommend having 5 to 6 total, 2 to 3 business, 2 to 3 personal. That keeps it simple enough to get a lot of ease out of it, but also a lot of value. I have a Chase United card. Is that still fine since it's a Chase card? Danielle, so that will only earn United miles. So it's okay if you fly United a lot, but you're better off earning Chase points on a card like the Chase Sapphire, the Chase Ink, because what you can do is when you want to fly United, you can just convert them at a 1-to-1 ratio to United or to all the other examples, including like that Hyatt hotel example. So that means when you want to fly United, you got options to book United flights using United miles or other options too. If you only have a Chase United card, you can't do that. The caveat to that would be if you're really frequently traveling, that United card will help you earn status. That will get you upgrades, but I would only do that if you're traveling at least minimum once a month and always flying United. Okay. Do I have anything for Discover? Is the card worth it? I don't really recommend much with Discover except for building credit. So if any of you guys have challenges there, I would definitely check out, just Google authorized user strategy. I'm not going to get too into that now, but it's a way to help boost your credit score really effectively and quickly and legally, ethically, no issues with that. But Discover is typically good for helping to build credit. They offer secured cards, student cards, stuff like that. They're more likely to approve you if your credit score is lower, but the travel benefits are not great. Can you combine personal credit card points and business card points? Absolutely. So depending on which bank it is, they'll either be automatically pooled together or they'll be on different cards and you can combine them. So with Chase, let's see, you have points on your Chase Ink and points on the Chase Sapphire. You can move the 2 together and be good to go. With Amex, they'll all pull together depending on how you have it set up. But those are all going to go to the business owner, not the business itself. So they're automatically yours. What is the best Amex card to get now? I always recommend the gold as the everyday spender. And then if you travel a lot, the platinum is good for the benefits. So I would do that. Can I switch a bank credit card for a rewards card? Bill, I'm not 100% sure what you mean with that, but you can always just get a new card and start using that. So I would just probably look for the card that's best for you and then switch off of your older card. Mark says he's got a ton of Amex points, but trying to find the best deals to Europe seems like a full-time job. Is there any site? Yeah, point.me, Mark, would be the best one. If you don't want to like, I'll just type that in. That's your best bet right there. Or Googling some of the articles online on how to do it. Summer flights can be sometimes challenging right now. So you want to have flexibility with where you fly out of. So if you're like in Pittsburgh, for example, randomly, maybe you'd want to, take a short flight to New York and then make the main flight out of New York. Best card for Amazon purchases, Capital and Venture X, in my opinion, is the one for that I like to use. For married couple, what do you do? I like having two separate cards because each of you can get the bonus. Jesper, it sounds like you're traveling a lot, 10 to 15 times a year. That's a good amount of travel. I would each of you have a card, get the bonus. And then after the second year, once the bonus has hit and you're not getting it again, one of you guys could cancel and then use the other one as an authorized user. And that way you can still use the same cards. That's what I would do. Dimitri's working for the, nice. Yeah, all good. Nice, Dimitri. How to put in business credit cards, where to find. So business credit cards, the application is going to be very similar to a personal card. It's online. It's on the bank's website. So that's all easy. They're just going to ask for more business information. But in fact, you don't have to have an LLC, S Corp, C Corp, or any sort of business legal entity set up in order to get business credit cards. You can do it actually as a sole proprietor too. So that's pretty cool. And it still won't show up in your personal credit report for most cards. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, if you're starting from scratch, I have 3 kids in college, I paid off all cards. I have no payments and no cards. Where do I start now? I would start with getting into a bank like Chase with their beginner cards, like the Chase Freedom cards, and go with that. Bill asked, can I switch from Chase Freedom to Chase Sapphire? Yes, you can, but I would just get the card new, Bill, because upgrading the card isn't going to get you the new bonus points, whereas getting a new card will. Brad, I do see points as a better option than cash back in most cases, so that's definitely accurate. And then, Sonia, what is the travel portal? Is the CC World portal? Yes, there's basically a rewards portal that is like when you log into Amex, you would click travel and it'll take you to the Amex travel portal. Okay, that's basically what I'm talking about. Or you could go to Chase Travel. So you'll see it once you log into the account. Is it possible to transfer from Amex Delta Gold to Amex Gold or Platinum? No. Got it, Jody. Good question. So these cards are all like families, basically. So like the Amex cards, there's the Platinum, the Gold, the green, and the plum. Those are like Amex branded cards. Then you've got like the Delta cards. So you can upgrade or downgrade between the Delta family or upgrade or downgrade between the Amex family. Same with Chase. You can upgrade or downgrade between the Chase Sapphire family and like the Chase branded cards, but you can't make like a Chase Freedom into a Chase United card. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. App is called Award Wallet, Sherry. So I'll put that in here. Award Wallet. There you go. What's my strategy to get around annual fees for the Platinum or Gold? Chase Reserve for Jay. So what I do is, I'll ask for the retention credit. And typically I see more luck with not necessarily waiving the fee, but them offering some sort of bonus to keep spending on the card. So I like that because if the fee is $300, but they give me 20,000 points, I could probably take those 20,000 points and turn into, $600 at least. Right. And so for me, that's even more money than the fee is. So that's good. The other thing is making sure I'm fully utilizing the card benefits. So like each card, like the Platinum card has a $695 annual fee, but if you use the benefits on that card, you're going to be getting, $1,000, $2,000 of value a year. And so sometimes you just want to say, okay, even if I can't waive the fee, it's probably still worth it to have that, right? Because that's just a lot of value on that card. So that's how I think about it, Jay. Jennifer asked, if I have loyalty airline point accounts, should you book your flight with the airline or convert to Amex Platinum? So just to clarify that, Jennifer, you'd be converting points from your Amex Platinum to the airline. So if you find the flight available and you have, let's call it a Delta flight, and you find it available on delta.com for miles, and it's a good deal, and you already have the Delta miles, great, easier done. You don't have to do anything. If you don't have Delta miles or you don't have enough, you could convert some of your Amex points that you earn from your Amex Platinum to your Delta account to either top up and book it or just book the whole thing. So that's how you'd want to think about that. Should I pay my annual fee with points? Is that a savings? I don't even think you can do that, Kevin. So I wouldn't do that. Anytime you use points for like cash back or gift cards or racing a statement purchase, you're getting less value than you could. So I would not use points for that. Isabel asks, how to get money back from credit card fees that I mentioned? Yeah, so I just covered that a little bit, Isabel. So Isabella says, if you still have questions, let me know. Candace asks, if I have less than optimal cards that I want to quit using, should I cancel them or just let them stay dormant? Thinking of credit score implications. Great question, Candace. So what I typically do is there's cards I don't want to use. I'll downgrade it. If there's a version of that card that has no fee, I'll downgrade to that. I put a payment on it on auto pay, and then more like once a month, like Spotify or Netflix or Hulu or whatever, I put auto pay on. And so that way I'm keeping the credit line open. So my credit history stays good. My utilization stays good. I'm not paying the fee, but I'm also building on-time payments with my credit report. So that's what I typically recommend. And if it's a business card and you cancel, it's not going to impact your credit score in vast majority of cases. But personally, it would. So specifically those older cards, you really want to keep them active. A lot of people run into a situation where they have an old card and they don't use it actively, and the bank shuts it down, and their credit score tanks because that card had all their payment history and average age and credit line and all that stuff. So yeah, that's a great question. Elsa asked, how do I feel about the platinum card? It's a big annual fee. I think I'm changing to gold. So Elsa, I would get the gold new and then potentially cancel the platinum, or even get the gold new and then downgrade your platinum and have two golds and then cancel the newer one. The reason being, with Amex, they have a bonus rule called once in a lifetime. So you can only get a bonus on a card the first time you get it. So if you downgrade from your platinum to your gold, you're not going to get any bonus points. Whereas if you get the card new, you'll get 60, 70, 80,000 points, which is a lot. That's like potentially $5,000 worth of value. So I would definitely do it that way. And then again, decide on what you want to do with the platinum card. But I do like the gold for the everyday spending for sure. So Jennifer asks about recommending the Bank of America Travel Rewards card or Amex Gold for gas and groceries. Amex Gold for sure for groceries. For gas, the Amex Gold is not going to be your card for personal expenses. The business gold would be good for that with Amex, but the City Premier would be another good card for gas. That'll earn you 3 points per dollar on gas. So that's another good one. What is the duration time between opening new cards? Like one every 90 days, each time you open a new personal? Yeah. So good question. So when it comes to opening new cards, you just want to, there's not a direct answer on that. Like I'll open a couple of new cards basically every 6 months or so, but I do a couple business cards in there because I don't want to continue to get new personal cards all the time and lower my average age. So it does depend on how old your oldest cards are, how many new cards you have. Like there's a lot of things to make sure your credit stays good. But in terms of the inquiry itself, like that's not a big deal to me. Maybe if you're doing something like buying a new home and you really need your credit report clean, that's a different consideration. But just in terms of like purely from a credit score standpoint, getting in a couple new cards every 9 days is not a big deal for your score. For the inquiries, right? The average age of the other pieces can definitely become a factor. So you just want to be cognizant of that. So I would say, one every 6 months or so if you wanted to open a few, or do a couple and then wait a year. And if they're business cards, more frequently is okay. The other thing with the inquiries, guys, is that certain banks pull from certain credit bureaus. So it's not like you're always going to get an inquiry on all three credit reports or all three credit bureaus. So for example, Amex, once you work with them, they often give you a soft inquiry for their next cards after the first card you have. So, typically you can get one card with them and then you can get a second, third, or fourth card with no inquiry. If it's a business card, it doesn't show up on your personal credit report. So now you're basically good to go. So Suze, I just saw your message about stopping at 205. So I know we got a lot of good stuff in here, but if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. Really appreciate you guys hanging with me. And it's a lot of information to take in and I'm going quick. And so, yeah, Suze, Andrew, if there's anything else that I can do for you guys on this, just let me know. But I know we got to jump here. So appreciate you guys spending the time, and hopefully, again, you found this valuable. And if you have questions about chatting or anything like that, feel free to reach out and we can set that up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. So go ahead, everybody, when you have a second, and follow Eli on Instagram at Eli Travel Guy. He is the most amazing feed. I find it very aspirational, makes me want to travel business class everywhere. We're going to go ahead and after this, within the next 24 hours, send out a webinar recap email with a recording of today's webinar, along with some of the resources that we've shared. But Eli, thank you so much. Thank you for hanging on and answering all these questions. And it's been great. We've all learned so much. So thank you.
You got it, guys. Good luck with everything. Hopefully, again, there's a couple of nuggets. I know it's a lot of information, but hopefully you found the 1 or 2 or 3 things that you can do. And again, if you have questions, reach out to me. Happy to support, and hopefully hopefully we see you guys getting some awesome travel wins on social media and can follow along from there.